I'm Emily Al-Anon. I'm glad to be here. I'm not prepared. I got thrown into this. But I know DJ from Kitty going to treatment, and she was the first person I called when I found out he relapsed, and she was very mad at him. I'll never forget that. But she has been a huge part of both of our lives. She's a wonderful woman, and I can't wait to hear her talk. But she has done a lot for Kenny. She really has, and I don't think she realizes the impact that she has on people's lives. And come on, DJ.
That makes me want to do my goat. Okay. My name's DJ, and I'm an alcoholic. I have a sobriety date of 12/12/12, and for that I'm truly grateful. That is a miracle. That's a miracle for me. I'm going to talk a little about my experience, but I want to talk a lot about the solution. But I do want to let y'all know a few things about me. I had a really good life when I was growing up, young, when my mom and dad were together. And then when they separated, my mom married a raging alcoholic. So I had never really experienced that in my lifetime. So it was, he was really abusive to my mom. And he was, about the time I was 11, he was really emotionally and sexually abusive toward me. So that probably went on for about 3 years, but my addiction really began when I was probably the hugest part of it, probably 12 years old. So I never told my mom about that, and that may be why she stayed with him for so long. But I did things that weren't great, and I harmed him in not a great way. So I was sent to live with my sister. So that was in Ranger, Texas. So when I went to Ranger, Texas, I was able to drink and drug and do whatever I wanted because my sister was maybe 5 years older than me, and she did the same thing. So I had a lot of problems in school when I was out there and stuff. Got sent back to my mom. But that time she had kicked that man out of the house. But it was really too late for me. I never addressed my trauma, and I just kind of drowned it away with alcohol and other drugs. I wanted to quit school. My mom made me finish, and my mom was tough. So I went ahead and finished school, and I got my first DWI straight out of high school. I was 17, and that was an experience for me. I'm anxious up here, so I want y'all to know. I don't like speaking. It makes me want to hit my goat again. Wait, one more time. My boss is going to be listening to this, and she hates this goat. So, Casey, this is for you. Okay. Okay, back to the subject. So, I ended up, I had a lot of other issues attached to that because for me, it's not just addiction. I go in extreme in all directions. It doesn't matter if it's codependency, I have that. I still have to work through that today, even in sobriety. The shopping, the gambling, every single thing, and I know if you're anything like that, you know what I'm talking about, and it can get extreme. So I went and got married. I was probably 18 because that's where I got my validation from. I had extremely low self-esteem, and I was far from loving myself. And I did not accept who I was. I never felt as if I fit in anywhere. And I know that had a lot to do with my past. So I got married really early, started having kids, got some more DWIs. Probably had 5 by the time I was 20 back then, because I'm getting up there in age. So back then they didn't have that 3 strikes you're outlaw, so I got really lucky with that. I left my first husband because I did just like what my mom did. I married an abusive alcoholic, and I allowed the abuse with me. But when it started turning to my 2-year-old son, it was time to get out. So that was one thing. I want to say I was very protective, yet I dragged my kids through years of addiction, so that's kind of contradicting myself a little bit. So I can do that stuff, but you're not touching them. You know what I'm saying? So, went on my own for a while, dabbled in a bunch of other things. Anyway, I probably got married 2 more times. By the time I got my 7th and 8th DWI, my 7th I went to prison. I only went about 2.5 years. And I say only because later I went again. So when I got out, I decided that I was going to be a counselor and I was going to help people. So I started going to school to learn about addiction and recovery in the school books. I knew by experience because I had already by that time went through a heroin addiction, used crack to kick heroin because you got to have something. It's painful. I didn't know about treatment. I had no idea about treatment. It never dawned on me that I could do something like that. So I basically just went from addiction to addiction to addiction to try to get out of another addiction. But I always came back to my first love, which was alcohol, because alcohol had been there for me since I was 11 years old. It didn't judge me. It comforted me in my mind at that moment, because that's the insanity of it all. I mean, you really think that it's there for you and it's your friend, but it caused me nothing but misery. It was just nothing but misery. So I'm in the middle of school. I have to blow my car. So my release from prison was, you have to go through the Safe P program first. Ugh, horrible, absolutely horrible. And then after going through there, I have to get all this stuff in my car to blow my car to get back and forth to school. So after a while, I was so stressed because I was working 2 jobs. I'm serious about my program in my mind. So I'm working 2 jobs. I'm putting myself through school. I'm raising 2 kids. And it got really stressful because I'm so busy doing that. I don't have time for my program. So my program's fallen by the wayside. And I was really on it for quite some time. Now, I'd relapsed many times before and had been in and out of AA since probably 1999. Never worked a program, though. And, of course, I sponsored myself. And y'all, please don't do that. That does not work. When it's myself, I am the worst sponsor of sponsoring myself because I let myself get away with everything. So the stress was starting to be really overwhelming for me trying to put myself through school. So I thought, I'll pull up at school, turn my car off, and then once my breathalyzer shuts down, I'll take a couple of shots to get me through my classes. Yes, that's the counselor. So, and it worked. It worked for a couple of weeks. I was really able to control it. And I thought, this isn't bad. I can do it, I can control it, and I can get a degree. Because at this time, I'm probably maybe 40, 39, maybe 40. I don't know. My time frame is never going to be good. I don't even focus on that. It went bad. I got another DWI right in the middle of school. And I was on probation for my last DWI from coming out of prison and then Safe P. So I'm sitting in jail waiting for the blue warrant to hit. And if anyone knows what that is, that means your butt's not getting out. And I got bonded out. It was a miracle. I actually got bonded out. So I went on the run because you know where I was going. I went on the run, and I only went dark in my addiction because I went and was in and out of Mexico. I was over by the border. And I ran for quite some time, but I didn't get to see my kids. I didn't get to see my family. And meanwhile, that emotional wreck that's inside, it was consuming me. It was consuming me from the inside out. And I called one of my professors that was, teaching me how to be a counselor. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I relapsed, and I'm in real bad shape, and I'm on the run." They had sent, you would think I was a murderer. They had sent SWAT to my son's house. My kids were grown at this point. To my daughters, to my mom's, like I'm like this crazy psychotic murderer. But and I get it. I do get it. I needed to go pay for what I did, and it was the hardest thing I ever did. But I went back to Odessa and I turned myself in. I got some years for that. First, I entered treatment for the first time because they let me do that. But you know what I thought that was going to do? I thought that was going to fix it. It's going to get rid of my legal because I went to treatment. And I was all suicidal and stuff, my little added dramatic touch. And I talked to my probation officer every week, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. But at this point now that I went to Springboard in Midland. I'm thinking, I really do want this. So somehow I went through this treatment program wanting to get out of legal, but then I really got that desire because the people there were so wonderful to me, and I really wanted it. So it comes time to quit, I would say graduate, but you never graduate because this is like a life thing. So they told me, you need to call your probation officer. She wants to talk to you. And I knew what was going to happen. I knew. And she told me, you need to come turn yourself in. And I said, but I went through treatment. And she said, it doesn't matter, DJ, because everything you did in the process, you violated multiple times, and you ran, and she just had this list of stuff. I even had some new charges, and that was just not what I expected, but I did. I asked her if I could have a week, and she gave me a week because I wanted to see my granddaughter. She was probably 2 at the time, maybe. She's 15 today. I have a 15-year-old beautiful granddaughter. And she doesn't remember that, thank God. So they let me do that. I couldn't believe they did because I was a flight risk. I had already ran once. So I went ahead and turned myself in. I spent time with my family, and then I went. I wouldn't let my family see me this time because they went to see me last time, and I just didn't want to be seen in there. So I spent 6 years in there. It was my 8th DWI. I was told, if you get another one, you're getting 25 to life. Do not get an attorney. You will waste your family's money. And I thought, shoot, this is very serious for me. So I got it together. But even in there, you're dealing with all that. You're not seeing your family. I wasn't dealing with my issues. I still call the relapse that I had even in there. I should have more time than I have right now, but I counted taking people's medications, that over-the-counter sleep aids that, everyone was buying them for me. I just wanted to sleep my way through that. Y'all, that for me, that's a relapse. Because I'm trying to alter my emotions and my feelings as if I'd done all my life. I never knew how to deal with emotions or identify them for that matter. So I finally decided to get serious probably a couple of years before I got out. And they had little AA meetings and stuff in there. So I started working on me. And by the time I got out, I felt sober, but I hadn't really worked any steps. By the time I went back to school too. So as soon as I got out, I went back to school. And I met this girl in there. And we were going to school together to be counselors. And she actually offered to sponsor me because she finished before me. And she went to work at Springboard. And she offered to sponsor me. In a way, I was still in that mindset because I was like, she's half my age, zero of my experience. And I ain't gonna have to do nothing, so I was like, okay, you can be my sponsor. And I didn't do anything. So although I'm abstinent, I still have the behaviors and stuff, but I want it, and it's still not working because all those feelings inside. But I've eventually got her sponsor and started to work the steps, and it worked. It really, truly worked. That woman had my nose to the grindstone. She was my grand sponsor until she became my sponsor. And she could see me spiraling out of control again. Behavior-wise, I didn't pick up. But so she said, I'm taking her on. And she's the first person I ever opened up to. I had been in and out of AA since 1999. I had done step 1 and 2 and 3. Took about 5 seconds, so I didn't really do it. And I'd never done a 4th step. The most liberating experience I ever had is doing my 4th and 5th step and having someone identify those things that I was in denial about. All those character defects I had and carried for years, and almost as if I even used most of them as weapons against other people. And my codependency was just unreal, because even in sobriety today, I have to work on that stuff, because I will seek that validation from outside when I'm not spiritually fit. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, because I became so spiritually fit that helping people, just doing service work, I felt good inside. I loved who I was. That was never in my life. Loving who I was a concept that I didn't understand. So to actually have that love for myself was really a great experience. And I know that was all my higher power doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, because I really hated myself, and I didn't like other people either. And I certainly didn't want to help other people. I was quite an aggressive and rude human being. There was no love and tolerance in my life. But my sponsor, her name's Donna, and she really helped me out. And she's an old timer, but she cracks the whip, y'all. I'm telling you. And it was just a blessing to have her in my life. I worked the steps several more times since then, because each time I did, I grew, and I grew. Because many times I had tried to work a program, and I had gotten sober even up to that 2 years before I got my DWI. I didn't work the steps fully, but I did morning meditation every day, and I would reflect, and a lot of prayer and things like that. And then I would stop because I felt good. It's kind of like if you're on medication or something, but you start feeling good, so you quit taking it, and then you right back down. It's like a slippery slope. You go right back where you were. That's what happens when I stop working my program, or stop doing what got me to that point. Looking at the clock, okay. Just making sure. Okay. Squirrel. See, when I get off track, my brain just doesn't go back. So it's going to take me just a second. Okay. But right now I'm really working my program at that point in my life. And the promises were coming true for me. I I was still in a relationship with my third husband at that point, but it was very sick and codependent. He wasn't an addict. He was normal. I don't know how that happened. Probably because he was codependent and so was I. So he tried to fix me the whole time. And I felt obligated because he waited on me while I was in prison the first time. He waited on me while I was in prison the second time. How are you going to leave someone that does that? You just do. Okay? You just do. Because when you're working on you and the emotional turmoil and sickness keeps surfacing, because, and I'm telling you, I was with this man from 2007. I finally divorced him in sobriety in 2018. That's a long time. That's like, what is that, 11 years? We're friends today, but I can't do that because it makes me sick. It makes me sick. But all the promises came true, and believe it or not, the divorce was one of the promises for me. I had never been on my own. This program helped me to become independent. I'd never had that, not my entire life. I went straight from out of my mom's home, into my sister's, back into my mom's, back with a man, then with another man, in between the next marriage, another man. I didn't even know really completely who I was, because even though I was becoming sober, I didn't have the identity of who I was, and I was definitely lacking independence. So I went out on my own. I took a 5-year vow of celibacy. That's a lot. Some of you are like, what? In that time, I focused on AA. I focused on me. I focused on my work. I was able to get 3 associate's degrees. Springboard hired me. I'm an LCDC at the Springboard Center. I've been there for probably 7 years, longer than 7 years. I love it there because I get to help people, but mind you, that's not my program at all whatsoever. I wanted to help people so much that I thought addressing the addiction's not enough, because there's people out there like me that might have struggled with depression, that had trauma, and who's working on that with them? So I went to school to get my master's degree. This is the incarcerated inmate that was in addiction from 11 to, I'm 56 today. So it was like years. When I got out of prison at 47, Springboard hired me while I was going to school. I was like, okay, y'all don't know me. But I stuck around there, and I love the people there. They're some of my biggest support group. It's a good thing. I'm in my last classes for my master's degree this semester. I'm getting my master's in clinical mental health counseling so I can help with the trauma and we can address everything at the same time. Thank you. I'm surprised because I barely graduated, y'all. I barely graduated high school. But that's part of the change. That's part of the change. This program's helped me build confidence in myself and help me see that I'm a good person. I'm a badass. I'm just saying. And I never thought that. And I never thought I could say that. But I want to read you something because I want you to understand when you're working your program, something that's really important. When we get our sanity back and we return to that, let me see, I hope I can find this. This is the into action part. And it talks about how we do begin to take action, our sanity returns to us. And we have a new attitude towards liquor, our substance, whatever it is for you. And that cravings and stuff have been removed. And that is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol and every other substance is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism or addiction. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. I'm reading this because I was solid on my pink cloud. People say, DJ, you can't ride that pink cloud forever. Don't you listen to them. Yes, you can, if you stay spiritually fit. I rode it for 10 years. And then I realized several months ago, just like the first time I got my tried to get my LCDC and relapsed, I'm not working my program. I am hanging on by my nails to my cloud, trying to climb back up there. DJ, when's the last time you went to a meeting? Oh no. I was an avid meeting goer. Avid with my step work. And I started feeling, my coworkers recognized it. Every excuse in the book, I was in denial. Well, it's my hormones, or I got a lot going on, I'm busy with school. It wasn't. I was getting spiritually sick again. Irritable, restless, discontent. By the grace of God, I didn't pick up. Because last time I was like this, I was almost 2 years sober, and it wasn't 2 months. That's that emotional and mental relapse. It wasn't 2 months before I picked up. And before that, it was exactly the same. I have managed because I have 10 years and I'm surrounded by recovery, even though I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was able to make it for months. But I'm very blessed because I don't know how much longer that would have lasted. So I want you to stay focused when you're out there. Know your early warning signs. I started getting miserable again. My self-esteem started plummeting. I no longer liked the way I looked when I looked in the mirror. It was just like in my disease. It was just exactly like in my disease. It was like every flaw you're magnifying. And I'm like, what is going on? I tried to do things on the outside to fix the inside. It's never going to work. The shopping went crazy. That went crazy. I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to buy this. It didn't work. I'm like, what is going on? And then it dawned on me. And I need to work the steps. I haven't worked the steps. I haven't been going to my meetings like before. So I went to someone that could understand me. Yeah, my sponsor understands me. But I went to her sponsor because she's an LPC. She knows what it's like to get a master's degree. She knows the stress I'm under. She's been the executive director of the facility I work in, so she knows the stress you get under with that, because we can feel your emotions sometimes. Because especially when you hear a story and it's your story, it's like, God bless their heart, because you know what they're going through because you went through it. And you're like, God, I wish I could just get in your head. But I can't. So it's like you've really got to stay on that. I'm back in my book. I had to get a new book. I've had my book ever since I was a client at Springboard. But my grand sponsor made me get a new book. I had to start over. And I'm back to the basics. And if I would have never left, I wouldn't have had these miserable feelings again. So my elbows are back on my cloud, okay? Because I'm not there yet. And I'm trying to kick that leg back on there. But I can feel the spiritual growth already. And it's like, I want y'all to know this, because people say all the time, I know what to do. Well, heck, so do I. I not only know what to do because I was an addict for 37 years, but I went to school about it. I studied it. I researched it. I know what to do. I've done it before. But if you're not taking action, it don't matter what you know. I had to say the set-aside prayer and set aside everything I know about the big book, this disease, everything, and start over from scratch. Fresh book and everything. I hated that part, but I did it. This woman's got me doing so much work. It's like another class for my master's degree. And I wouldn't change a thing. Because if we're not willing to put in the work, I mean, it says even in How It Works, half measures availed us nothing. After 10 years, I was at half measures, if that. So it doesn't matter how much sobriety you have, you're going to go all the way back down, just like this. All the way back down. If you quit doing what you did to get you where you are. Like right now, ladies, y'all got the 30 days. However you got that 30 days, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll get 60 and then 90. One day at a time. One day at a time is crucial. It's crucial. Because I'll carry my chips in my pocket, and look, they're at the motel right now. I carry them in my pocket every day. And I tell people, I pull out my 10-year chip, and I'm like, this is nothing. This is nothing. This is important. You ladies that got that desire chip, that's important because it takes that to get to that year, that 2, that 3, that 10, that 20, one day at a time, and taking action. That's huge, huge. So get you a sponsor. It's crucial, and work those steps, and don't stop. I'm working them right now. So I'm ready for my step 4 again. But I thank y'all for having me. I just love y'all.